Hello everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel. I hope you all are doing great. If you didn't know, I recently earned my PMP certification, and in my last video I shared all the tips and tricks that helped me prepare. So if you haven't checked it out yet, I highly recommend watching that first because it will definitely help you with your PMP preparation. In today's video, I'm going to cover a very important topic that's often overlooked: how to prepare for PMP exam day. I'll be sharing some useful tips and telling you exactly what to expect on the big day. So, whether you are taking your exam at a testing center or from the comfort of your home, these pointers will come in handy. But before that, in my last video, I was asked whether the PMP exam was hard, easy, or somewhere in between. And I realized that this is probably a question everyone has when preparing for the exam. So I thought, why not share my personal experience with you all? I just took the exam and remember exactly how it felt. I ranked the PMP exam between medium and hard. Most of the questions were scenario based, testing your ability to apply concepts to real world situations, which can be tricky. It's definitely challenging, but the difficulty really depends on your experience and how well you have prepared. To be honest, I struggled with a few questions on concepts I thought I knew very well. For example, I had a drag and drop question on the stakeholder power interest grid. It's a basic concept, but the exam presented four stakeholders with very little information, and I had to place them in the right quadrant. I quickly placed two, but the other two weren't so clear based on the details given. I can't share the exact question, but just to give you an idea, it was something like this: you are managing a project for a new product launch. Based on the power and interest of the following stakeholders, place each in the quadrant of the power interest grid. Now, the options that were given: number one, CEO has a significant influence over the project. Number two, senior manager has moderate influence and some interest. Number three, sales team member does not support the product. Number four, HR representative is neutral towards the project. Now let's break down the solution for this drag and drop question. To get it right, you need to correctly place all four stakeholders in the appropriate quadrants of the power and interest grid. Even though most of us are familiar with this concept, the challenge lies in assessing the power and interest levels of each stakeholder based on the limited information provided. So let's talk about the solution. Stakeholder 1, the CEO. This one is pretty clear. The CEO has significant influence over the project, which automatically places them in the high power category. While the question didn't explicitly mention their interest level, based on the options and the scenario, we can assume the CEO is highly interested in the project success. So, where do we place a stakeholder with high power and high interest? They belong in the top right corner of the grid, and we manage them closely. Stakeholder 2 is the senior manager. The key phrase here is moderate influence and some interest. This means the senior manager has high power but low interest in the day to day outcomes of the project. For stakeholders with high power but low interest, we need to keep them satisfied, which puts them in the top left corner of the grid. Stakeholder 3, sales team member. Now, this one is interesting. The sales team member doesn't have much influence, which means low power, but is against the product, which suggests actually he has high interest. So, where do we place a stakeholder with low power but high interest? They go in the bottom right corner of the grid under the keep informed category. They care a lot about the project, but they won't directly influence the outcomes. Stakeholder 4, HR representative. Lastly, we have the HR rep who is pretty neutral. They have low power and low interest in the project. For stakeholders like this, we simply monitor them, placing them in the bottom left corner of the grid. because they require minimal attention. Another question I encountered was on CPI, Cost Performance Index. We all know CPI measures how well a project is performing on budget. If it's 1, the project is on track. Over 1 means under budget, and below 1 means over budget. However, the question I got was a bit different that got me confused. So basically, in PMP, questions weren't very straightforward but required applying concepts to real world situation, which is what makes the PMP challenging yet interesting. I hope you all got an idea here on complexity level of the exam, and I will be sharing the questions like this in my coming videos that you can practice before your exam. So now let's talk about the very first point that you should know before taking your exam. Point number 1: what to expect on the day of the PMP exam. Timing, format, and break rules. So, this point is very obvious, and I believe that most of you already are aware of this. But just in case, the PMP exam has 180 questions. 5 of these are pre test questions that won't affect your score. You will have 230 minutes to answer everything, which gives you about 1 minute and 16 seconds per question. Now, some questions will be quicker and some will take longer, so it balances out. You will also get two 10 minutes breaks, one after question number 60 and the other after question number 120. Just so you know that you can't go back to the earlier questions after the break. So make sure review them before moving on. I recommend taking both breaks. Solving 180 questions can be exhausting, and those breaks will help refresh your brain. I personally took both breaks. Point number 2: how to prepare mentally and physically, sleep, meals, mindset. I mean, you all already know about this, so I won't go in details, but I just want to remind you to get a good night's sleep, at least 7 to 8 hours. Your brain will thank you later. I know when you are trying to cram all that last minute information, it's tempting to pull an all nighter, but trust me, it's not going to help you. Personally, I went to bed by 11:30 the night before my exam. I couldn't sleep right away because my mind was racing, but I still made sure to get some rest. And please don't skip breakfast. You need that energy for a 4-hour marathon of brain power. Do keep your water bottle with you during your exam. It is allowed, and keep sipping whenever you feel like. Also, don't drink too much water as you can't use the washroom in the middle of your exam until or unless you have taken your 10 minutes break. Now, let's get into the mindset. Do take a few moments to breathe and calm yourself. Try closing your eyes, taking a deep breath, and remind yourself you have got this. Positive thoughts only. If you go in thinking this is impossible, then it will feel impossible. Trust your preparation and keep that confidence high. You have studied so hard for this and you got this. Point 3: exam day strategies, time management, handling tough questions. Alright, exam day. You have made it this far. Now let's make sure you play it smart. So I'm going to go in a bit detail regarding this point. First things first, time management. This is the key. You don't want to be that person who gets stuck on the question number 3 for 20 minutes only to realize that you still have 177 questions left. Don't do that to yourself. If you see a question and think, what are they even asking? Just breathe, mark it for review, and move on. My golden rule is that don't overthink. If you're unsure about a question, pick the closest answer that seems reasonable to you and move on by flagging that question to review later. There's no negative marking. So, worst case, you guessed it wrong. Best case, you nailed it without even realizing it. And trust me, at the end, you don't want to be scrambling because you spent way too long trying to figure out whether the CPI is above 1 or below 1. Just pick, move on, and save time for the stuff you do know. At the end, if you have still time left, then go back to the question that you have flagged for review and then give your remaining time on that. I hope this makes sense. Now let's also talk about using the tools. You have got some nifty features on your screen to help out. For example, If you are stuck between a couple of answer options, just use the strike through tool. It's like crossing out the wrong answer in real life. Super satisfying, and it helps narrow things down. You will feel like Sherlock Holmes eliminating suspects. Also, use the highlight tool. You see that huge, scary wall of text? Yeah, it's easier to tackle if you highlight keywords. I used it to zero in on key phrases like most likely, best, or first thing you should do. It makes answering a lot simpler when the important stuff is literally glowing on your screen. For those math related questions, there's a calculator. Yep, no need to do the mental math. Though, if that's your thing, go for it. Funny thing, I did not get even a single question where I needed to use a calculator. But hey, it's there if you do. And finally, don't leave any question unanswered. Even if you're unsure, pick something because let's face it, an unanswered question is always wrong, but a random guess, you might just get lucky. So, to sum it up, manage your time wisely, use your tools like a pro, and never leave anything blank. You have got this. Point number four is what to bring to the exam center or keep handy for online exams. All right, so let's talk about where you will take the exam. You have got two options, either head over to a testing center like it's a school day all over again, or you can stay cozy and take the exam at home with the online proctor option. Both work, but let me break it down for you. If you are heading to the testing center, it's pretty straightforward. Just make sure to carry a valid ID. Trust me, you don't want to be that person who gets all the way there and has to drive back home for it. And bring a water bottle because what I think hydration is equals to the focus. You will get a break halfway through. So if you are like me and can't survive without food for 4 hours, pack a little snack, maybe a protein bar or your favorite chocolate. Obviously, let's not turn this into a full picnic. Now, for online proctored exam from home, a bit more flexible, but it comes with some rules. You will need a quiet spot with no interruptions, so lock the door. Tell everyone you are on do not disturb mode and maybe even hide from your pets. Some like the same deal here, valid ID, water, and snacks at the ready. You will get a 10-minute break, so use it wisely, grab a bite, stretch those legs, maybe even do a quick power pose to pump yourself up for round two. Whichever option you choose, just make sure that you are comfortable, prepared, and ready to focus. Point number five, how to stay calm and focused during the 4-hour exam. All right, let's talk about staying calm and focused during the exam. This is a biggie because let's be real, it's a 4-hour exam that's longer than most movies. So, sitting in one spot for that long can really mess with your focus. But don't worry, I've got some tips that might help you. First off, breathe. I know it sounds cliche, but deep breathing is your best friend when you feel the stress creeping in. If you find yourself panicking, just pause for a moment, take a deep breath, and remind yourself that you have prepared for this. You have got this. Plus, oxygen is good for the brain. More oxygen, more brain power. Try to break it down. The PMP exam is divided into sections with scheduled breaks. So make sure that you use those wisely. When the 10-minute break rolls around, don't sit and stress over the questions you have just answered. Stand up, stretch, grab some water or a snack, or maybe just walk and let your brain rest. Trust me, those little breaks can work wonders. Think of them like pit stops in a race. You wouldn't expect a car to keep going for 4 hours straight without a quick refill, right? Now, here's a little trick. Break the exam into mental checkpoints. Instead of thinking, oh my gosh, I have 4 hours left, tell yourself, all right, I'm just going to focus on the next 10 questions. When you break it down, it feels much more manageable. Celebrate those small wins. Got through 20 questions? Awesome. Pat yourself on the back and keep going. It's all about pacing. If you start feeling tired, don't panic. Mental fatigue is normal in a long exam, but you can fight back. Use the highlight and strike through tools to stay engaged with the questions, as I told you in the last point. Actively crossing off wrong answers or underlying key points in the question will help you keep your brain focused and alert as well. Lastly, positive self talk is everything. If you feel overwhelmed, remind yourself that you have worked hard, you are ready, and this exam is just one step toward your goal. You are not just any project manager, you are going to be PMP certified. So stay confident and keep pushing forward. I know I have given you so much of extra knowledge. So that's it. I hope these tips help you on your PMP exam day. Let me know in the comments how your exam experience goes. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that like button and share it with your friends, colleagues, and anyone preparing for the PMP exam. And if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Bye for now, and I'll see you in the next one.